Saving Shiloh, Chapter 5. I figure when David Howard grows up, he'll be an explorer, a detective, or a spy. Whenever there's a game where you have to crawl under a bush or slide on your belly or hide in a tree, that's what David wants to play. And because we have a lot more places to hide on our land than he does on his, that's why David Howard likes to come to our house. Dad's reading Becky a story and Dara Lynn's helping Ma with the dishes. Only reason I got excused was I got a guest, and you can be sure Dara Lynn will see to that I have to do 'em 2 nights in a row. Takes about 25 minutes to walk to Judd's from here, I tell David. Okay, we'll need a canteen, a map, and a pair of binoculars, said David in his low voice. A map, I say? David, all we're doing is crossing that bridge and walking along the road till we get to Judd's. Not the way we're going, says David. How are you going to spy on someone if they see you coming, walking right up the road? So to please David Howard, I take the back of a used envelope and make a map of the bridge, the old Shiloh schoolhouse, and the road where Judd lives, plus the small private cemetery back in the trees behind someone's house. David's brought his own canteen and his ma's field glasses, and I can tell him if we don't set off right soon, Dara Lynn will have all the dishes wiped up and be begging to go with us. We don't have to worry about Shiloh, though. Shiloh trots along beside us as we go down the driveway. But when we turn right instead of left, he pauses, not too sure, then lags 10 feet behind us all the way to the bridge. We stop to look at the pothole in the road. Been there since last spring. Must be 7 inches deep and 3 feet around. Wow, says David Howard. Looks like a sinkhole, Marty. I'll bet there's a cave under there, and the roof's fallen in. So, of course, we have to crawl down the bank and poke around in the weeds and bushes to see if there's a hidden entrance to an unexplored cave that nobody knows about. Every so often you read of someone discovering a new cave. Maybe his foot drops down into it when he's out hiking through a meadow, or his dog falls in it and folks hear it whining. If we find a cave here under the road with passages and waterfalls and stuff, we'll decide we'll name it the Howard Preston Caverns. We waste a good half an hour daylight looking for a cave that isn't there, and then come back up to cross the bridge. Shiloh won't go, though. Makes this pitiful sounding whine in his throat. He tucks his tail between his legs and slinks off towards our driveway again. It hurts me to see how scared he is still of Judd Travers. He won't set foot on that bridge for all the rabbits in Tyler County. I'll be back, boy, I tell him. If I could just make him understand. We set off down the road toward Judd's. David stops and takes a drink of water from his canteen, but I can tell he's not even thirsty, just pretending he is, like we're working so hard and all. We creep along through the bushes between the road and the creek, darting from tree to tree, waiting till the coast is clear before making a run for the next one. The coast is clear all up and down the road, of course. Not a soul except an old woman sitting on her porch, and she don't have her glasses on, don't even see us. It's fun, though, all the spy talk. Agent XRX. Come in, XRX, says David, holding up one fist to his mouth like a microphone. Read you, QZT, I say. How close are we now? Asks David. About 5 houses more, I think. It's a brown and white trailer. Problem is, the houses are all so far apart up here that you can't see Judd's trailer, even when it's next one in line. Same as our house. Let's cut to the cemetery, says David. We cross the road, go around behind the house, and creep through the lady's backyard. Backs bent while we run low like soldiers dodging enemy fire, hills looming up on our left. We pass this little cemetery plot with a little iron fence around it. I mean, it's only 2 feet high, and you can step right over it. There's a whole generation buried there, I guess, and all the names are Donaldsons, except one. Wait, said David Howard, grabbing my arm. I stop. Which way is the wind blowing, he says. I don't know. David licks his finger and holds it up in the air. He's still not sure, so he throws a handful of grass up and waits to see how it falls. We're going downwind, he says, his eyes big like we're on a ship that's sinking or something. I try to look worried, too. Well, what do we do now, I ask. The dogs might smell us coming. There's no quick way to go around and get to Judd's from the other end because we got hills on one side, Middle Island Creek on the other. We'll just have to be dead quiet, said David. You want to risk it, XRX? Roger, I tell him. We get about 50 yards from Judd's trailer, and we're down on our bellies, inching along through the weeds, 2 feet high in the field, right next to his yard. I'd probably have to explain the grass stains on my T-shirts to Ma, and I sure shouldn't have to take a bath, but it's worth it. When we get close enough to Judd's trailer, we wriggle around toward the road till we can see Judd's front door. And there he is, big as life, sitting out on the steps with a shotgun resting on his knees. David and I just grab at each other and swallow. Lucky for us, I guess, that Judd's dogs are chained on the other side and can't see us. They're quiet tonight. I guess when you're a dog, no matter how small your brain is or how full of meanness, you got sense enough to know that when a man's sitting out on his steps with a shotgun across his knees, you don't cause him any trouble. You think he's going hunting? David whispers to me. Don't think so, I whisper back. The scary thing is, Judd don't look like he's going nowhere. Not cleaning his gun either, just sitting. And once in a while, he spits. What's he waiting for? The person who scratched his truck, maybe. Just watching for someone to come along and try it again. David Howard inches forward again, and I wish he wouldn't. I make my way up beside him and pull him back. Then we realize Judd's talking to himself. Can't make out a single word, just a low kind of mutter. Every so often he slaps a knee or shakes his head, and then he's quiet before he starts all over again. Not too hard to see he's been drinking. It's right about then he suddenly jerks to attention and raises his gun, and I know for a fact I shouldn't be here. Shouldn't be anywhere near this place, but Judd's got his gun aimed at a tree in his front yard. And at first I figured this shows just how drunk he is, mistaking a tree for a deer or something. But I raised my head in time to see 2 squirrels chasing each other around and around that tree trunk. Judd lifts his gun and aims. Bang! One squirrel goes skittering up the tree, half crazy, and the other one falls straight down and goes flopping about the yard. I can't watch. Put my head down on my arms and pray that squirrel to die quick. But now all Judd's dogs are going nuts, yelping and barking, and above all, it all comes Judd's laugh. Gotcha, he yells, and I can hear the slap of his hand on his knee again. He don't even stand up to go get the squirrel or shoot it to put it out of its misery. I look up and see the squirrel still squirming, and then it lays still, only its tail's twitching. How can he do that, I'm asking myself. To watch something living thing die slow like that, shot for no good reason at all, wasn't as though Judd needed it for food, squirrel stew or something, because he don't even get off the step. He just spits again out the side of his mouth. The other squirrel's coming back now, probably to see what happened to his pal, and just as Judd raises his gun again, I yell, "No, don't!" I can't help myself. David pushes my head down, and Judd jerks around. "Who's that?" he yells, but his words sound slurred. "Who said that?" We hear him get up off the steps, and I think my heart's going to pound right through the skin on my chest. I'm about as frightened as I've ever been in my life, because David and me weren't just walking down a country road where we had every right to be. We're lying belly down on Judd's property. And Judd could just put some lead in us quicker than he could spit. Say we were trespassing and he thought someone had come to rob him or something. "Sounds like Marty Preston to me," said Judd. And from where I'm lying, my chin on the ground, eyes turned up about as high as I can get 'em, I see Judd looking every which way, trying to figure out where that voice came from. "What you doing here?" he yells. "Your dad won't let me hunt on your land, so what are you doing on mine?" I press the side of my head to the ground. My whole body as flat as it can get. All I can think of is Ma hearing that David and me were found with buckshot in our brains. This has got to be one of the stupidest things I ever did. I can hear Judd's big old boots coming down the boards stretched across his yard. Should I say something? I wonder. Call out and tell him we were just going by? And then I think about it, how it will look. Us just going by Judd's place flat on our bellies? I swallow. The footsteps stop. They don't come any closer. I tip my head as I can look up with one eye. So I can look up with one eye, and I see that Judd's so unsteady, he's only gone as far as the end of the trailer. He's got one hand against it, holding himself up, and the other one's got the gun. "I catch you fooling around my truck, Marty Preston. I'll blast you to kingdom come," he yells. Finally, after the longest 2 minutes in the world, Judd goes back to the steps of the trailer again, and then he goes inside. David and I lie in the grass, not saying a word, not breathing, hardly, and then slowly we inch backwards out of those weeds, the same way we came in, wondering all the time if Judd's got his shotgun aimed out the window, just watching for the weeds to wiggle. When we're out of sight at last behind a lilac bush, we make a run for the little cemetery with all the Donaldsons in it, and from there we cut on back out to the road. We're breathing too hard to talk almost. Could have been us. Close as spit. Squirrel hadn't done anything. Shouldn't have come. He knows it was you, Marty. Both David and me feel sick inside, but there's one big thought taking up the whole of my mind. Now that I seen Judd shoot the squirrel season don't start till next month, so Judd's a little early. Duck season starts in October. Deer season starts in November, but dogs, not a thing on the charts about dog season. With Judd drinking every evening like he does, I tell myself now, suspecting me of scratching his truck, he'll make his own rules. There could be a Shiloh season, and it could be any time at all.